So this is the point that we're at in U.S. politics at the moment. We have the current president is arming and supporting and funding slaughter of massive numbers of innocent civilians in Gaza. It's honestly atrocious. And we have his number one challenger, the guy who's leading in all the polls, both in the primary and in the general, is a guy with 91 criminal charges who was just found liable for fraud, tax fraud, business fraud, insurance fraud, etc. This is where we're at. And so now Fox is starting to have a conversation. Well, what happens if Trump's legal troubles catch up to him? Okay, fair question to ask. Let's see how they handle it.
All right, so which candidate, if you're looking at this kind of objectively, which candidate has done the best silver medal campaigning behind Trump?
I think you got to say Haley at this point, obviously, just because of these New Hampshire numbers. New Hampshire is an interesting place. It's kind of a purple state. Trump didn't carry it last time, so, they're very independent. Haley's got that ace in the hole, however, which is that our third primary is going to be down in her home state of South Carolina.
That's right.
And remember, Biden was bailed out by his performance in South Carolina last time around. So
Thanks to James Clyburn.
Exactly. So we can't underestimate the influence of that state. Look, it's Trump's to lose. And what people are saying, and you were seeing a lot of this in the media, probably by media that's adversarial to Trump, is that the thing that's working against him is drama. A lot of the voters want to get past the drama. They just want to go on to a candidate that they feel comfortable with. I think that's a misconception. I think a lot of Republican, especially primary voters, are reacting to the drama and saying these prosecutions are selective. This Colorado nonsense shouldn't stand. It's splitting the country, and I'm going for him. So, I know it's a point that Joe Rogan's made, Bill Maher, and others who tend to be on the left, which is that you're feeding into his narrative. And that's why I still think it's his to lose. And I think that by the time we get through the first three and we get to Super Tuesday, it's going to be Donald Trump likely left standing.
All right, so what happens if he's indicted at some point?
He can be president from jail if he has to. But
Right.
I think, to your point, Paul, despite all of the threats, despite all the charges, Republicans are still rallying around Donald Trump. Now, even if they stoop so low out of fear and desperation because they have no other choice, they have no other nominee other than Biden, they know that he's going to end up being the nominee. They're taking all these actions. Look at the FBI raid in Mar-a-Lago, trying to kick him off the Colorado ballot.
Look, on the one hand, there are very practical, pragmatic problems with being the president of the United States from behind bars, right? It's like, how do you do it? How do you do it? How is that possible? Are they going to retroactively say, since presidents can't be charged with anything while they're in office, that now applies, so Trump has to be out even though he's convicted of some of the 91 crime? I don't know, man. But look, it has to be said. They're not wrong. They're actually not wrong. So at the point we are right now, I need you to stop and think about this. Biden is losing to Trump with young people, a group he crushed with in 2020. Hispanics, he should be up by 30 points. Instead, he's down by 4. Biden went from over 80% support, 83% support, or maybe even 87% support in the black community. Now he's down to 63%. He's getting clobbered. He's getting clobbered. And so Trump is not only the massive favorite in the primary, as they correctly point out, he's also now the favorite in the general. There was a poll not too long ago where Trump was up in like 5 or 6 of the 7 swing states. What are we talking about here? So look, here's the deal. If these cases are not wrapped up before Election Day, the general election, if some of them are not wrapped up, if we don't get an answer, then this is actually a distinct possibility at this point, right? Like, because that's the thing. I think it's more likely than not the cases will be wrapped up after the general election. Well, what if he already wins? And then it's like, okay, like I said, want to talk about a constitutional crisis. Jesus Christ, what do you do in that scenario? Sorry, Don, you were just found guilty of 43 of the 91 criminal charges, and you're supposed to serve 48 years in prison, but you already won the election, so you're the president-elect. So when you become the president, do they now say, well, since a president can't be charged, since you were charged before, but now you are in office, it doesn't apply? Do you have to go to prison and then maybe even try to serve the country in prison? This is where we're at right now, guys. This is where we're at. This is insane. I've seen a million polls that said, if Trump is convicted of a crime and it's before Election Day, that, like, over 60% of the country is like, I can't vote for him. We've even seen in focus groups, some people say, like, yeah, I support him, I'll vote for him, but if he's in prison, like, what am I going to do? He can't run the country from behind bars, right? Now we're actually at the point where we may be relying on that percentage of people who said, I like him, I would vote for him, but if he's in prison, I can't do it. We might actually be relying on them to pick somebody else, to not vote or vote for Biden or whatever it may be. But this is crazy, the point that we're at right now, man. This is insane. And look, you can't help but say it. Biden brought it all on himself, didn't he? Like, I don't want to take anything away from the horrific nature of Trump and just how cultish his remaining followers are, but like, you should have been able to beat this guy by 20 points. It should have been easy. It should have been simple. If Biden didn't support the genocide in Gaza, then he wouldn't have lost all these young people, right? He wouldn't have lost almost across the board Arab Americans and Muslim Americans. If he didn't let the pandemic era social safety net expansion expire, he also wouldn't have lost all these other groups that are now turning on him. I mean, with very simple changes, he could have been in a much better position. But no, here we are. And now on Fox News, they're saying out loud, very confidently, very succinctly, he could just run the country from behind bars. And I have to come out here and tell you guys, my loyal audience, that they might be right. They might actually be right. That's where we're at, man. That's where we're at. Jesus Christ. Oh, I've never seen a more wild situation in politics than what we're witnessing right now, across the board, in every way, shape, and form. In the Democratic Party, in the Republican Party, with foreign policy, with domestic policy. This is hard to wrap your mind around. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.